I think the key thing for a successful real estate agent is to have nobody know who you are.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
The less people that know about you, including the IRS, as we were talking about moments ago.
Yeah. We were saying how we love the IRS, and
I did look up John 36:19 and John 39:19.
Did it?
Which don't exist.
Okay.
But I would have started us with a scripture reading just to make sure that we were all on the same page.
And that's the reason why I used a scripture that didn't exist, because, in Revelations it says any man that adds to or takes away from this book, is going to be in a lot of trouble. So, God, if you're listening, which,
He is.
He is.
If you believe in the omnipresence.
I'm sorry, God.
It's okay. Don't, I think he understands what, the principle of it. I mean, I do think he said something about render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, but, anyway.
Yeah, but he also turned the tables
Caesar
over.
Didn't make crypto either, though, so.
Yeah. That's what we need to make, Caesar coin.
What is going on right now?
We're talking about the Bible, man. It's like
just a smidge.
Yeah, just like what is his name? Marshall Mathers. He says, "I'm sorry, Mama." That was more of me just saying,
I am for real.
That's
different song?
Andre 3000.
Oh, well.
Outcast. But
Please
it's okay.
cut that out, because I should not be singing for anyone.
That was great.
If you know anything about me as the editor.
Yeah.
I keep it in.
That's making it, for sure. Anything to make this unnamed realtor sound ridiculous.
Third. Do they have
Walmart?
Do they have real estate agents at Walmart?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm just joking. Listen, if the biggest organization in the world called me, one of the biggest organizations in the world called me and said, "Hey, we need you to be on property acquisition for commercial property for us," I would be like, absolutely.
Yeah.
When do I start?
Yeah.
What day? Because, a contract like that, even if you're just salaried, the amount of money, you're talking about multi-million-dollar properties. They're buying tons and tons of acres, probably 15, 20 acres of prime real estate.
Prime real estate.
In the biggest cities in the country or in the state, because real estate agents are licensed in each state. That's kind of how that works. So you can be licensed in multiple states, but you have to go through the licensing process and take the classes and keep up with your continuing education and stuff. But yeah, if Walmart called, which I'm not saying they will, but you can call me, and I'd be willing to help you acquire land, because Sebring or Lake Placid could really use a Walmart. Another one. One that isn't 666.
That's the truth. Yeah,
we're store number 666.
Yeah.
Florida Walmart.
Anthony always wanted to work at that store just for that reason.
Really?
Yeah, but they put him at the Avon Park store.
Oh wow.
Yeah, funny. It was God.
Dashed his dreams.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get cracking. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Triple Point Charts podcast number 3. This is our first podcast with a guest. We have Mr. Clinton Davis on. Yeah, let's give him
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on, bro. Him and I have known each other for probably like 10 years now, on and off.
Off and on for sure, because Brewster's back in the day, if you're a local Highlands County person, there were several different times where he played shows and things like that, where I was able to be there and enjoy the music, not play, because you guys wouldn't want to hear me, just like you wouldn't want to hear me sing if the heart makes it.
Oh, it's going to make it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's going to make it, and we're going to put a meme up above saying it's Andre 3000.
If they go viral, it's going to be because of me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, we really appreciate you coming on. Oh, my gosh. I got to grab something real quick.
Oh.
I forgot. You know what? You just go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to slide right by Mr. Clinton.
All right, here he goes.
I got something.
I'll allow you. I'll allow it. He can leave. We don't need him anyway.
No, we don't. That was the plan the whole time, guys.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I kind of feel baited
Oh,
then, because
you
I
didn't lock
actually
the door.
I actually only came because he was here. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah. So we definitely want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. really proud of you for becoming a great real estate agent, especially at a great time like it is right now.
It's a phenomenal time.
You know,
I appreciate the opportunity for the exposure and to be able to come here and just give out some free information, because honestly, that's that's my heart. Like, my heart is to give people information so that they can make an educated decision. So
hell yeah, awesome. Well, we want to give you this, and we encourage you to open it now. And
is it bourbon?
It's I thought about bringing a bottle today. I really did, but that's for say congratulations for.
It's for my fat stacks.
That's for your fat fucking stacks, dude.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. So
even though we're into digital money here, okay, guys.
Yeah. But you know what? Your clients might have that cold hard cash.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
guys.
man. I'm sure you're gonna be using that over this next maybe year or so.
No doubt.
In the market, which we can definitely talk about if. That'd be a great entry segue.
I mean, yeah. I guess what do you think I guess the current state of the market, like what are your thoughts on everything as a real estate agent and your perspective, and kind of like I guess Florida's kind of seems like an outlier right now as a state as a whole.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that Florida's an outlier. We do have an increased volume of people moving to Florida. I mean, I heard a statistic the other day that there's 1,000 people a week moving to Miami. So, I mean, I don't know if that's how exact that was, because I heard it off like the herd watching sports, like Sports Center stuff, basically. But essentially, that kind of idea, that's been a thing, especially prior to COVID, that we were, the Orlando and like the I-4 corridor has been growing like rampant. I mean, you can see if you ever drive through there, there's just, multi-level housing going up everywhere. Apartments, houses, and not cheap houses. Like we're still looking at, even with the cost of goods and everything like that, these are probably $500,000 homes plus. So it's been a great time, because we've been kind of coasting off of a really good economy that we had, and interest rates are coming up and things like that. So the dynamic in the market's going to change a little bit, because people's buying power is going to be affected
For sure.
But I would say, the Florida market is really, really interesting. It's a lot of fun to be in. It's very competitive in our area because supply is so low. So, if you were thinking about selling your house, it's a great time to sell your house. And we might be approaching the end of the best, most competitive time to sell your home for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cyclical. It all comes around.
For sure.
We had 2008 where everything crashed, and then, I was fortunate enough to buy a house well below market value now, because I was able to buy it before the upswing started. I basically bought it at the beginning of the curve.
Nice.
And so I've been able to really benefit from that.
Is that something I would imagine real estate agents talk about, but like kind of behind closed doors? Are they worried that another 2008 scenario is getting set up?
So most agents, especially experienced agents, don't really feel like this is comparable to 2008. Reason being is a lot of the properties are being bought cash, and a lot of the properties are being bought by like hedge funds, especially here in Florida, to be rented. So they're coming in, they're buying, property after property after property in all these places, and the demand's high because you have your regular consumer market. Then we've had COVID, which has affected not only the car market, but the housing market and supply and stuff like that as well. I mean, obviously it's not the microchip issue, but, when everything shuts down in the world for, 3 months, it really screws some things up. But also, we were in historically low interest rates, so the pressure on the market was already there at like an extreme level.
Yeah.
I started in April of 2019, and I was like, man, this is such a competitive market. Like, how am I ever going to be able to get people a house when they're asking for like concessions or stuff like that? Now concessions, like if you ask for concessions, like basically there has to be something really wrong with the house.
And what are concessions?
So concessions, I got to get into that because that's a simple term for a real estate agent.
Right.
But concessions are essentially like, let's say you're buying a house for $200,000. And let's say that you needed to close with 3.5% down. Let's say you needed like $17,500, which obviously ballpark numbers. But let's say you only have 10.
Mm-hmm.
So concessions would say, hey, Kenny, I'm going to buy your house for $200,000, but I need you to help pay for closing costs and prepaids, like prepaid taxes and insurance, up to $7,500. And so what that would mean is he's actually going to be getting $192,500 versus the $200,000.
So like the seller takes a little bit bigger of a hit.
Yeah, exactly.
So the buyer can afford it.
Yeah, exactly. And so in a market like in 2019, that wasn't completely uncommon. You know, and even into 2020, that wasn't completely uncommon.
When I bought my property in Hawaii, we had concessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they ended up paying like half our closing costs, and they paid for a few of the inspections. I think that's where my inspection.
Humble brag right there. In
Yeah.
my property in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I sold it, so it's not mine anymore. But
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But hey, that's the thing that I always tell people, and so many people are married to like the property they're buying. Like I always try to tell people, like, you know, so many people back in the day would buy one house, and that would be the house that they got married and lived in, and then like they raised their kids in, and then they're there with their grandkids.
Yeah.
That's not really the thing anymore because the market fluctuates so much and need fluctuates so much. You know, I mean, just like not to get into like all the philosophy of like marriage success and failure and you know, birth rates and all that stuff, because honestly, I don't know the statistics on all that, but there's so much, we live in a lot more fluid society.
For sure.
Like, you just moved back for the podcast.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's one of probably a couple of reasons that got you here, but moving for opportunity is a very popular thing. So don't get married to a house, because the thing is, a house is a tool.
Yeah.
Can you love your house? Absolutely. But it's a resource, and it should be used as such. It shouldn't be used as your, you know, as this is my forever home, unless, you know, you've bought within your means and it is absolutely everything that you want and need and will need for the rest of your life. And that's a rare case. I'd say that's probably 1 in 10, 1 in 15 of people. You're going to do multiple real estate transactions. By the time I was 22, I'd already owned 2 different houses. I owned a townhouse, which was a small, like 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse, literally right here outside of where we're recording.
Yeah.
And then I went ahead and got pre-qualified when I was working for Verizon and purchased the home that I live in now. Why did I do that? Because one of the safest investments you can make is in real estate. It's literally doubled in value in the last 5 years. I just owned it for 5 years.
Holy shit.
So I've literally taken that money that I've invested, and really less, because if you look at my cost of ownership, I've probably spent about $40,000, and if I were to cash out, I would probably come up with in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $120,000. So I've really tripled my money if you're looking at my actual cost.
Yeah.
But the value of what I bought it for versus the value I can sell it for is about $100,000 difference.
So it's pretty a horrible investment compared to SHIB if you would have bought in 2019.
I still own 39 million of those because
Let's go.
I bought $300 worth whenever, because the meme coins have seen traction, and I'm not a huge fan of meme coins. I'm not going to say it, but the whole F Dogecoin mantra that you were wanting to get trending, I'm all about.
Fuck Dogecoin.
It's a fake coin, and I love Elon Musk to a certain degree, but when it comes to the crypto market, stay out. Keep your billions out. You get these whales out of here because they're screwing up my vibe.
They are for sure.
Oh my gosh! I mean, just this past week, I mean, we all know that, you know, the market kind of. I think I probably lost 20% of my value. 25% of my value.
What did you do this past week, Kenny?
So,
in the crypto market.
I told you I sold my property in Hawaii.
Yeah. You've lost all the money in the crypto market.
I bought a Bitcoin.
Dude, man. You bought a Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I'm super pumped for you, man.
Dude.
I will own a whole Bitcoin before the end of the year. I'm currently working towards that. And anytime I've got extra money, I'm throwing it at that, because even if it doesn't.
So you're safe. You're safe. You can breathe.
I can breathe.
Other people are doing it.
Well, I explained it to because my wife was kind of like I don't think this is smart. And I was like.
So far, she's right.
So far, she's no. I did a good job of explaining it. I feel. You can tell me in the comments.
I'm doubling down when you get out, just so you know. Because I figure that's when it'll rebound. One of us will have to get out, and then it's going to rebound. The whole market.
So I told her, I was like, listen, because I'm a veteran, VA home loans are offered to me where I can put zero down. Yeah, it's amazing. If you're in the military or you got out of the military, use the VA home loan. Doesn't matter. As long as you can prove that you can kind of pay for it on a monthly basis, they'll work with you and get you your loan.
And by kind of pay for it, he means fill out 762 documents that say that, yes, I will be employed, I am employed, or, have, your VA compensation or things like that in line. But yeah, VA loans, very good. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
We can expand on that in just a few minutes, yeah.
And so I told her, I was like, well, we could either wait for the market to come down, buy a home, or I can buy this Bitcoin. If the markets continue to rally, at least we have something hedging with it, rallying with the housing market. So in both situations, we're kind of in a year from now or 2 years from now, whichever direction it goes,
sure,
we'll be able to get a property that we absolutely love.
I personally believe that I've seen a lot of stuff on crypto, and if I'm being honest, I don't know super well how a lot of it works. Mm-hmm. What I know is I don't want to be left behind.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I can tell you is I've seen huge amounts of wealth transfer through crypto. And I mean, despite the fact that I lost 20% of my portfolio in the last week because it's a volatile investment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that your retirement should be this, but I'm saying that it is there to be had. Like, you can, if you hit on one of these stupid meme coins and you get in and get out in the right times, and not saying that timing is everything, because really, you really and truly invest in the coins that you believe in. Invest in the coins that are going to last.
For sure.
Because it's going to be there. This is now in addition to the stock market. This is not a separate thing. This is not a trend. This is something that has up cycles and down cycles, and riding through it for the long term, especially for people in their 20s and 30s, you're going to come out ahead. Just like home ownership, you're going to come out ahead if you buy a home at 25 years old and you hold it for 30 years. You're like, there's going to be 2, maybe 3 times where it cycles through another pressure point where we're going to have high demand for homes.
Yeah.
And if that's the time to get out of it. The other thing is, if you buy within your means, flip that sucker into a rental property. You can count 75% of your rental income. So, like, if you have a $1,000 mortgage and your home rents for $1,500, guess what that is? That's a wash on your debt to income ratio. You know what I mean? So you're literally going to be able to put somebody in that house. They're going to pay for your mortgage, and then you can go and qualify for another one based off your income you have now. So
you could essentially start your own property management company or something like that just off that strategy.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. Like, my plan right now, if interest rates hadn't been climbing, I was planning on buying another property at the beginning of this year, but with taxes and everything, I just kind of looked at it and I was like, I'd rather have this cushion right now because we're going through an adjustment, I feel like. So I want to make sure that I have my safety blanket to protect my assets, in the meantime. But interest rates creeping towards 5 and 6%, still below the level of inflation. So you're still winning on that. It's just one of those things that I'm going to hold off for now. But yeah, I think you can definitely roll into multiple different properties at different times. But it's all about buying within your means, and again, using it as a tool versus like, this is the love of my life. Like, don't marry the house. Yeah. Marry what the house does for you. Keeps you dry, keeps you comfortable, keeps you safe, and pivot. Especially for a single dude like me. I'm single. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife.
Nice.
As long as I can take my dog where I go, like, I don't care where I live.
That's another reason not to rent. Because a lot of places don't let you bring your fucking dog when you rent.
Especially if you have a real dog. No offense to the little dogs, because I grew up with a little dog, but I have a 65-pound German Shepherd Black Mouth Cur mix.
Damn.
And so homeboy is not getting in any apartment, and I'm sure it's too fat to walk that boy around the neighborhood.
I was hoping he was going to say, I've got a 65-pound wiener dog. I can't take it anywhere. It's on a defibrillator.
I did have one of those. It was my grandma's dog. His name was Fritz. He wasn't quite 65 pounds, but homeboy drugged the ground. Like my grandma fed me like she fed that dog. So
yeah, that's exactly what happened with my wife's dog. We left him at grandma's house for a year. When we got back, he couldn't even jump.
He's big, boy.
He couldn't jump.
Yeah. You had to pick him up onto the couch.
Yeah. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That's the thing. But that's another huge point. Like, it really and truly is one of the reasons I haven't sold my house. Is because, I have an idea that, if I'm going to commit to this dog or if I'm going to commit to this animal, in giving it a life, one of the things that I'm not willing to do is to compromise its living situation. I'm not going to, if I can help it.
Right.
If I can help it, because my dog loves me, and I don't care who you are. My dog is the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though he's a hooligan and barks at everybody.
I got mine tatted on me. I mean,
dude, nice.
I don't know how much you love him. Never mind.
I'm not.
No,
I'm clearly only the second proudest dog here. No.
Yeah. My dog's a piece of shit, though. Leela, I know you're home fucking shit up right now. I know she is. I was yelling at her before I got here. She's great, but she's a piece of shit. I'm not gonna lie.
But she's yours.
She's my piece of shit.
I got a German Shepherd Husky, and I'm pretty sure he's the best dog in the world.
We should have competition.
We should have just brought our fucking dogs today.
I know.
I actually
been a dog
I legitimately thought about it. I was like,
you could have.
He's just deathly afraid of people.
Yeah, that might have been bad, especially being 65 pounds.
He won't hurt you. Like literally, like if he was here and like you approached me, he'd be like, boo, boo, boo. And then he would like hide behind me and be like, Dad, I told you he was there.
Yeah,
get him.
Yeah,
and I'll be like, bro,
chill.
He's our homie. Like, he's cool.
Then he starts speaking German and the thing attacks me or something. What kind of dog did you say it was?
German Shepherd Black Mouth
okay.
Terrier.
Yeah.
So here's the question, okay? Because if we're going to have a competition about whose dog's the best, how many tricks can your dog do?
I tell her, drop it. And that's the best command she's got.
All right. What do you got?
So my dog can shake. He can high five. He'll sit, he'll lay down, and he'll stay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, pretty basic commands.
Bow, play dead, and turn around. Boom.
Jack is now currently available. We're gonna seek out a new dog.
No, those tricks are super easy to teach.
Yeah.
The bow is, I'm trying to think. Look it up. I found it on YouTube.
Oh, I'm sure it has to do with the treat and pulling it, because I pulling it down to the nose, and then like so kind of keeping his back in high, and then pulling him down with it probably.
And then turn around is just leading them to.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And then what was the last one I said? Oh, play dead. Leading them to.
You shoot him in the fucking head.
That's the thing.
Those three are pretty easy to do.
I mean, I know this is completely off topic.
We were trying to
I missed whatever this happened. Did he just go dog murder on us?
Yeah,
he's yeah.
I'm kind of glad we acknowledged it. Like if we didn't, and we just kept on going through the conversation.
I would have just went.
They would have been like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
Well, now he's been taken off the radio because we're gonna have to cancel. Cancel Sam here.
It was I'm writing a book. It was a fantasy.
You're writing it.
I'm writing
a fantasy. This is getting worse.
What is it? Now, is that called fantasy? What is it? Fiction.
Non-fiction and
no,
fiction.
it would be fiction.
It would be fiction.
It would be fiction. I'm writing a fiction.
But
novel.
if it was your fantasy, it would be non-fiction. If you had the moment to act that out.
Well, I've got a lot of fantasies I haven't acted out. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of them would probably get you in jail.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't want to kill my dog. I'd want to kill somebody like at McDonald's that took too long on my order or something.
I thought we talked about this before.
I feel like there's other people before the McDonald's worker.
I mean, I know you guys were talking about inflation and everything, and what was it? 40% of our entire available supply of the dollar was printed in basically, I think it was essentially the 18 months surrounding COVID.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's a bipartisan screw up, in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah.
Because we had stimulus bills and we had things from both sides and in both parties and both presidents that currently are affecting our economy in major ways. And even
so they both suck.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, in their own ways, 100%.
Honestly, what that just shows you is their motivation it's no longer the U.S. as a whole. Their motivation is D.C. And people lobbying at D.C. they're losing sight of why they're even there in the first place. Yeah. That's really what's going on. It's not because I guarantee if you turned around and showed every politician, hey, these are the effects of what we've done in the last 18 months, most of them would be like, oh fuck, I didn't even really think about the guy just working at Walmart or the people, the family who are having to live off of minimum wage, or even the immigrants that are here legally and illegally. Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think inherently our government's out to make the poor and the rich richer.
They have no idea. They're so detached.
Yeah, I just think it's
detached.
Yeah.
Like how you got started in real estate,
sure.
what led you to get want to pursue it, and your sentiment throughout your career over it.
So how I got started in real estate was essentially, basically, my whole life I've been interested in it. That's really what it comes down to. Is so from basically the market crashing, which was in the 2007-2008 time period. I was right around like 10, 11, 12, 13, like right in that. Like I think probably 12 to 13 was when I really kind of started to like hone in on this. Is like, this is easy money, is what I looked at it like. Little did I know that there's a lot of work that goes into, getting a mortgage. There's a lot of work that goes into getting the capital, But you see $40,000 and you think, okay, people make that in a year and you're not paying bills. Right. So you're like, oh, well, I could buy this house for $40,000. There's a house around the corner from where I live that sold for $40,000, like $45,000, like multiple times that I pointed at and I was like, Mom, you should buy this house. I'm like, Mom, you should buy this house. There was a house on the end of her road that had a pool for $90,000. And I was like, you should buy this house. I think it just sold for like $275,000. Like, so we're talking about in a 15-year time span where she would have been able to gain rental income and buy that property. And this is just one example. And I totally understand as, somebody who has bills and has a retirement plan and has, I respect the fact that she didn't listen to her 13-year-old for financial advice.
Right.
And, that probably benefited her long term. But obviously, hindsight being 20/20, if she'd have picked up one or two properties in places that are desirable, it would have gone very well for her. But again, hindsight's 20/20. You never really know where something's going to go. And at that point, everyone's like retirements were hit, everyone's income was hit, people were laid off. I mean, it was a really, really volatile time to be encouraging people to take out, $50,000, $60,000 in extra debt, second mortgages, things like that. So the people who are willing to take those risks typically win. So anyway, that was part of my interaction. Is I kept looking and looking. I remember sitting in the computer lab and being on like Zillow or Realtor.com, just like digging through. I don't even know if Realtor.com was around yet, but again, 15 years ago. So that's always been something I've been interested in. And I was my broker, who's Sue Clark at Lake and Land Realty, literally sold me my first house, and I was like 18. The townhouse over here for like $27,000. Nice. I had a college fund. I had the option to go to college, and I was like, I'm way too dumb to try and pass college classes. And actually, not too dumb, just not motivated enough to go spend the time, energy, and effort that it takes to make the same money that I can make in some sort of sales profession or customer service profession.
Yeah.
College is great if you have something that's definitely going to make you six figures, in my opinion. Or if you just really feel like fulfilled by a job that's going to pay you $40,000 or $50,000 a year, then do that. And that's not to knock anybody's level of income or anybody's thing. Like, I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
But for me, the risk reward, like, I could spend this money and go out and grab this job, or I could, work through some sales jobs and things like that. So initially I went into car sales, which is, just kind of gaining experience. It's the first real job that I had. Thought I was making like great money. Mm-hmm. I was making like $350 a week take home. It was nothing.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But I own this thing free and clear.
Right.
So rather than me paying money on rent, which obviously most people aren't going to be fortunate enough. I was super blessed. My grandma put money away for me and my sister. Like, I'm going to say that 100 times out of 100 because some people look at me and be like, man, you've done so well for yourself. But honestly, I had a great base to start from. Like, that's a really true thing that needs
that really, really helps. Yeah.
It 100% helps. Now, I could have probably bought that that I probably could have figured out a way to buy that property. But it's just one of those things that, just to be fair, that was the thing that kind of set me on that path. So I got my first property. It was like 4 months. I bought it in January, like the 25th or something like that. January 25th, like 2013. So I had been 18 from August 18th. So it was like 5-6 months later, within a half a year, I owned my first property.
That's awesome.
First thing I did was try to find somebody to rent the extra room. Because, obviously I'm not making much money. This is before I even got into the car sales job. So I'm literally like working 10 hours, 15 hours a week, like as a janitor at the daycare / church. So like I'm making $8 an hour. So I go and I dig into the car sales stuff, and I'm rolling with that, and I'm like making a little bit of money, getting experience, because I wanted to go work at Verizon. Because Verizon, I knew somebody who made like in the realm of 80K, and I was like, 80K, man,
Hell
like, that's
yeah.
freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody makes 80K in Sebring unless they own their own business, and
Right.
like you get health insurance, you get paid time off. There's a lot of benefits. It's not quite as good as it once was, and that was the corporate store on the Parkway, which is where I worked for a couple of years.
Nice.
I worked there at the corporate store for about 3 years, worked in car sales for about 3 years. So right around 23, like 24, I decided to go ahead and make the leap. I had enough money saved up. I ended up selling this property. So I lived in it for free, basically, paying property taxes and stuff like that. I sold it for $6,000 profit, which I took a beating on. But that place took a beating, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever lived on your own. At 18 as a single dude,
Yeah.
you don't know how to clean.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't know how to cook. You don't know how to really do anything. I was able to fortunately do my laundry from time to time. So
I still don't know how to do any of those fucking things.
So sold it to a local investor who owns pretty much the majority of that building. Really great guy, in my opinion. But just like everybody, there's lovers and there's haters, man.
Yeah, fuck him.
But anyway, he was a cool dude. He bought the thing for $33,000 and just renovated the ever-loving crap out of it. It's beautiful inside and out.
Yeah.
And he's probably making $1,200 a month rent off that.
I bet,
or more.
Yeah.
On a little 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And it's just, it's great. But yeah, so I took that money that I got from that, which was about $33,000 roughly, and I said, all right, I'm gonna bet on myself here. I'm like, I've been doing pretty good at this Verizon thing. I've got people who come in and see me. I've got a good base of people that are, in their early to mid 20s, could be buying properties. The market's hot. Like, now's the time. Like, if I'm ever gonna succeed at this, let's go for it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it was 2019. I walked into my job after a call from another broker here in town who kind of he was like, yeah, we'd love to have you. And I'm not with that brokerage anymore. They're still in town. They do plenty of business. But yeah, basically I was like, you know what? Let's do it.
Hell
So
yeah.
I walked into my office, and I was making, in the neighborhood of 50 to 55 grand a year pretty consistently, even with the expectations going up 20 to 30% every year in sales. Like I was excelling, and I was getting performing or high performing like raises and bonuses each year.
Nice.
So I was doing good at that. Like I knew the ins and outs of that. And then I walked into this real estate market, and I was like, man, I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah.
I'm so great at selling cell phones. Totally different animal.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Totally different animal. So I walked into this business and fell flat on my face. Spent all my savings. Literally, like, all my credit cards were maxed out.
Sheesh.
Was going to lose my house if I didn't, start to perform and didn't start to make some safety nets. So called up my buddy who's currently my roommate. He lived with me over here at a certain point. He was an over-the-road truck driver, and he's like, man, I can't do this anymore. I need to get back off the road. And I said, you know what I need? I need a roommate and a few $100, $400+ a month to keep my house. Because my mortgage was cheap because I was fortunate enough to buy it then. So the first year was awful, as it really goes. But that's kind of how I made that evolution. Is I was fortunate enough to have that really about $30,000 buffer twice in my life to kind of position me to take the jobs that I wanted.
Yeah.
That gave me experience in sales or gave me experience in customer service and set me up for the opportunity to jump into this. But yeah, it took well over a year to get my feet wet, to get it figured out, and to get moving forward. Now, I could have spent money on advertising, things like that, but honestly, I was out farting around just trying to like have a good time. I'm like, well, it'll come, and like when I sell a $200,000 house, I'm gonna make so much money.
Yeah. So what was the change after a year? What changed where you started killing it, or at least paying your bills or your mortgage?
So so basically in 2020, so I started April 2019. I ran through the end of 2019 with one brokerage, switched to another brokerage, made a call. So cultivated the relationships. I've been cultivating relationships in Highlands County forever, but made calls to everybody. Yeah. You know, did the classic sales things, which I hate, by the way. I am not a person who wants to call you and be like, hey, Kenny, hey, Sam, just wanted to let you guys know I'm in the real estate business. This is Clint Davis. I know we haven't talked in 7 years.
Right, yeah.
But I've got exciting news for you. If you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or know anybody who is, I'd be more than happy to help you.
Yeah.
And that's...
Click.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, yeah, man, good to hear from you. Sorry. Oh, yeah, I got to run. You know, but that... It does.
Sorry, I got to shoot my dog.
Yeah. Or myself. Because I just got another spam call, basically. Yeah. And so everybody and their brother is doing that, right?
Yeah.
And here's the reality. Everybody and their brother or sister or whatever gender you identify as, because we're an equal opportunity housing place. You have to be. Not only by oath, but just by the fact that people are people. So, like...
Hell yeah.
You know,
we stand with you.
People
Absolutely.
are people, and some people aren't people.
But those people are the best people.
Yeah. I like to call them furries.
I don't care what you call me. Just call me tonight.
But anyway, so I mean, I don't even remember where I was going with that. The furries got me blown up. Do you guys remember where I was at?
I think you were talking about the... how you came into from like not making much money to making
so I ended up spending 2 months. Spending up 2 months with another brokerage. A couple of people that I've known for years, like referred family member, and another person that I knew bought a house cash, which was sweet. Like in 7 days, like they were like, let's come in and like we just crushed it. They just crushed it. Here's the thing: if you've got cash.
Call me.
Oh, man. No, it's incredible because right now it's one of your biggest leverages because at the beginning of 2020, again, it was still one of those markets where, the supply wasn't quite what it is now. Like the supply is at all-time lows, basically. Dang. So he came in and there's a lake house that was just shot, just completely beat. And some investor had bought it off somebody whose like family member had died or something like that. Or maybe they inherited it. I don't know the exact situation of the ownership because I didn't represent the ownership. I represented the buyer. And they had listed this thing for like $245,000. And like you'd think, okay, lake house for $245,000, that's not bad to begin with, even if it needs some work. We're talking like big house, like probably 2,600 square feet. And so we ended up going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and got them down to like 210. So it was a really cool thing. They were able to get a hold of that house and they did a ton of work to it. It's a beautiful home now. And they probably have $180,000 to $225,000 in equity. And that's just a rough guesstimate without, like going there and looking at the comps and seeing like that. So it worked out really well. If you can buy a distressed property, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about, or one of the things that we should talk about, if you have the ability to buy a distressed property, it's one of your fastest ways to get equity in a property.
And distressed just is like a shitty house or a foreclosed?
Yeah, something where most people wouldn't be able to get an FHA loan or a VA loan for, meaning that maybe it doesn't have flooring. But maybe you do flooring. Yeah. So you're like, okay, I can put, 5% down and get a conventional loan on this property. Or maybe, it's, you can put all the cash down, or maybe you can put 20% down. You can walk in and you can buy a property that it's not going to be as competitive because not everyone can offer on it. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I think is...
Are those harder to get a loan on?
Yeah, if a property isn't move-in ready, you have to be able to qualify for like a conventional loan typically.
Nice.
Now there are certain provisions with like government loans that'll get you into some of those properties. And like I mentioned before, like if you guys ever really want to deep dive into that stuff, I could probably hook you up with one of my friends like Shane Harris or like AJ Danielson may sit in with you guys and like have a conversation with you about the intricacies of mortgages, because I know the broad overview, but I don't necessarily know
for sure
the details of that. Like I know an FHA 203K is a loan that you can get on a property that needs maintenance and needs work, but it's higher qualifications than just getting a house that you can move into.
Yeah. What's the most common type of loan that you see?
So right now in my age group and for who I deal with, because I deal with mostly people buying first, second homes, I see a lot of FHA. I see a lot of conventional. I do see some VA and things like that. But it seems to be mostly FHA and conventional for my people.
Nice.
Which is solid.
Yeah. They're pretty easy to deal with.
I honestly, like some people, so the old school realtors don't like FHA loans because at one point I guess they were like miserable. There are a couple of extra parameters with those, like again, the livable scenario. Yeah. If the appraisal, like, so let's say we're buying that house again for $200,000. If the appraisal comes in at $195,000, that sticks with that property, and FHA, I think it sticks with it for like 6 months. So like it can't be like an FHA buyer would have to bring the money to cover that gap.
Gotcha.
If the seller isn't willing to adjust the price.
So whatever it appraises at, that's the max amount they're going to let you lend.
Yeah, and you're going to give them the 3.5% down. You're going to pay your closing costs and prepaids. Your closing costs are mortgage origination fees and things like that, which are usually X amount of percentage of a loan. So a good number on like if you're borrowing money is basically to think that you're probably like if you're doing an FHA loan, you're probably going to borrow like $200,000. I would figure like 6%, 6.5% is probably for that 3.5% down,
right? And
then your other fees and prepaids and things like that you're going to need to get into a property. So probably $12,000 to $15,000 on the low side.
Nice. That seems doable. That doesn't seem too bad.
It really is. The biggest thing is in Highlands County right now, if you're buying a $200,000 house, a lot of times that's a 2.2, 2.1, and everyone wants that house that they're going to marry. The 3.2. They want the 3.2 with the 2-car garage. Well, I'm sorry. You got to get the house you can afford, not the house you want.
Yeah. So it seems like, especially in a mindset to have when the market's inflated in price is get in what you can get in and flip that bitch.
Well, and I have another story of a friend of mine. They just moved out to Colorado, but I sold them their first house. So like literally they got married and they were like, all right, look, we're going to go to Colorado and visit our uncle. So they went out to Colorado. They're like, oh my gosh, Colorado was so beautiful. The mountains. They hit me with the whole hashtag that everybody that lives in Florida and goes to the beach does. I live where you vacation.
Oh dear God!
Oh my gosh!
Isn't it?
I hope their loan didn't go through.
I want to be that. I want to be that cheesy. No, they bought the house. That's my commission you're messing with, Sam.
No, not yours. When they go to Colorado, I hope that something.
They're
happens.
Good people.
Not their
and remember,
statuses. I'm just kidding. You guys are great. People are people, except people that aren't people, and they're furries.
And I actually ended up being what I would consider the best man in his wedding, which was interesting.
What is it? Oh, nice, dude.
So,
was I the best man in your wedding? Did you? You didn't really have anything.
I didn't have any.
I didn't have anything like that either.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, you were like the only friend at my wedding. What are you talking about?
I was the best man.
Best man and only man.
Yeah.
Because it was super small. I was super last minute.
That's how mine was too. It was me, Deja, and a pastor, and it was 7 minutes long.
Yeah, dude. Didn't you get married when, basically, she was, 5 minutes out of high school? You guys were,
2 weeks out of high school.
It was super, I remember that. And I was like, man, okay, they got married quick. Yeah. Well, quick as it goes for, being adults. You guys have been together for a while.
We were Christians, and we were trying to fuck. That's what it was. Sorry.
Hey, whatever,
The Bible says it is better to marry than to burn. That's,
Burn with lust, right?
Burn with lust, baby.
Here we are, back to the Bible again, full circle.
We're thumping it.
I like it. This is going to be great for Highlands County. We should go into the parking lot and we should put these on there and be like, here
Jesus
our commentary
saves.
on the Bible.
I should just hold a Jesus saves picket sign.
Oh
with
well,
with their laptop next to you with their podcast playing.
Yeah.
but yeah. So anyway, in February of 21, I think it was, we closed on the house they bought.
Hell yeah.
A 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. First house they bought. Because they're right around my age. 20. I think he's 27. I think she's around 25. Like I said, really great people, really nice. I ended up selling their parents' house too because I've known them and helped them with phones and things like that. It's a small town. Like I've sold houses, phones, and cars to some people. Like
Nice.
because if you treat people right, they're going to come back, and that's really what it comes down to. Is I'd rather lose money than lose integrity. But anyway, that's a integrity plug. But anyway, so we sold that house within the year. We sold it in December for $55,000 or $52,500 more.
Oh my God.
In the year. Now the big thing to think about again, the government and Uncle Sam always has his hand out for.
Was that 30% too? Is it
probably because
they didn't live in it for the required amount of time.
If
right?
you own a house that you live in and it's homesteaded for 2 years, if you live in it for 2 years, you can make up to $250,000 from price bought to price sold per spouse. So like you and your wife could sell a house and make $500,000 off of it tax free.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
You have to live in it for 2 years though.
You didn't live in yours?
Oh no, I did. I lived in it for 3 years.
Nice, dude.
But otherwise you get capital gain.
Yeah.
Is it 25% just like?
I don't know the exact bracket off of it, but it's short-term capital gains.
Yeah.
So again, the CPA is, I'll tell you the biggest thing that they tell you in real estate school is basically you're not a CPA, you're not a lawyer, you're not a this, you're not a that. So for my own sake, rather than, I think you're probably right about that 25-30% bracket. But again, not a CPA,
for
not
sure,
a lawyer. So I can't give legal advice and can't give tax advice under the Realtor oath and everything like that. So
Caesar.
Lame.
Is there an actual oath?
Yeah.
That you recite?
Yeah. Don't ask me to recite it. At the end of the day, it's the only business I've been in where you have to take an oath about being ethical. And that should tell you everything you need to know.
Right. Yeah.
Because basically it's the most corrupt and the most cutthroat.
That's what
and
I was about to say. I was like,
I want to
and
hear
the
most.
Just
an oath. Yeah.
So are there real like scumbag realtors out there?
Yes, but the thing is, typically they're not doing that to customers. Typically it's, and to a certain degree they are.
Who in this town is the biggest scumbag real estate agent?
I don't know that I should answer that question, but I kind of
an answer.
I absolutely have an answer.
For real?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's funny.
Yeah, don't say it.
I can't. Here's the thing.
You took an oath.
You took
Well,
an oath.
and at the end of the day, my job isn't to run other people down. My job is to sell myself.
Hell
yeah, exactly.
So I'm not gonna
sell
brag on these.
Yeah.
Not in the same way. Just in case any of my church friends watch this.
Yeah. Don't sell yourself, man. You're worth.
That's still against the law.
How does somebody say that? Don't you're worth more than that? What's the value?
You can't sell people. That's illegal.
Yeah, but so there is scumbag real estate agents
They're
lurking
everywhere.
out here.
They're everywhere. And so some of the things that are the most irritating to me, right, about agents, and this is one of the things that I would say is a disservice to their customer, right? Okay, so Highlands County, this is going to get into the deep, dark crevices of what real estate is and how it works. Yes. It's not going to be it's not exciting, okay?
Oh.
It's pretty much accounting, but
Marty Bird in the house.
I'm so excited. Spreadsheets.
I would love to hear it, yeah.
So anyway, we have basically what is our Zillow or Realtor.com is called the MLS. It's the multiple listing systems, and there are big, huge conglomerates of these companies like Stellar MLS and things like that. well, Highlands County owns their own. Because why would Highlands County do anything that conforms to anywhere else?
Right.
We're not those kind of people.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a separate system, right? But a lot of other agents are off the stellar MLS in like Lakeland, Orlando, Miami, these bigger cities. Because when you work those markets, a lot of times you'll work from Lakeland to Orlando. Like you'll work that whole corridor, where you can get to like an hour radius easily. You may work all the way over to Tampa. I've got a lot of respect for those people because like I have a hard time, not a hard time, but I really try to understand the neighborhoods and the dynamics of the places that I go into. And so for the level that I want to be at, I don't think I could cover that much area. Yeah. But mad props to those people that are doing it and doing it well. A lot of them have teams. Yeah. I'm just an individual dude. Hell yeah. But yeah, so the long and short of it is some of those guys that are doing it poorly are like out of Miami listing in Sebring. So here's what happens, right? These people that are in Miami listing in Sebring, they don't answer their phone, or they're not in our MLS, so we can't schedule to go show the property. But they're like, yeah, Sam, list with me because I'm the best agent. I'm gonna get it sold fast, and like right now, if it doesn't sell fast, you have the wrong agent, basically. Yeah. Or you have a property that is deeply distressed and needs tens of thousands of dollars of work, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars of work. So that being said, like there was a property in Lake Placid I was trying to get a hold of. I called 2 or 3 different times a week for 2 weeks, and they finally answered. Like I called their office, and their office couldn't get them to answer me.
Jesus.
I couldn't get into a house in Lake Placid that was perfect. It was in the area my customer wanted to be in. It was in the price point my customer wanted to be in, and it was beautiful. But guess what? Their agent wasn't representing them well. And so, they did eventually get under contract, but that house was on the market for like 120 days.
Wow. And it was purely the real estate.
Before it went pending. Yeah. It was purely because communication was poor.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah, so you're really going to be on your shit.
Yeah, you've got to answer your phone. Like, if I miss any calls during this, the first thing I'm going to do when we walk out of here after thanking you guys for having me on the podcast is literally check my phone to make sure that I haven't missed anything important. Yeah. And I'm not even super busy right now. It's just being prompt, especially in an aggressive market, is what you have to do.
Yeah. So if anything, also, that says to me is like as a buyer or seller, staying on top of your real estate agent is also key to it.
If you have a good agent, you really shouldn't have to stay on top of it. They should stay on top of it for you. We're compensated very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah.
There are certain times. Sure. There are certain times where you're going to call them. Like I understand this because as a first time home buyer, I was the one who was on the phone. I called my agent probably once a day. Why? Because I had an interest in the business.
You're excited,
And I was excited about the property, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't do anything to screw it up.
Yeah.
And so those kind of calls, I'll take all day long. If you're like working through it, but like it shouldn't be you calling me to get you an answer,
right?
Like, unless it's like okay, you thought I was going to answer you at 9 a.m. and like we had an acceptance period. So like on a contract, if I submit a contract offer to another agent, like you have an acceptance window. So like I would say, I think today's the 7th. So like I would say that we have until the 8th for you to respond. So that would mean that I may not hear until the end of business or later, and business hours don't exist in real estate, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
That's another plug.
I was calling my real estate agent at all hours of the day.
And your mortgage broker should be the same way. Your mortgage broker should be able to answer you when you're done with work, not when it's convenient for them.
Yeah. So you just can't get a lazy agent.
I don't say that. Like, I understand people that need a work-life balance, and I understand people that have families, but I don't turn my phone off. I've driven back from like little daycations in Orlando and Tampa to show houses, and then driven back.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know why? Because the market is that aggressive. We don't have time to waste. If it's the house, we got to get there.
I mean, I can also hear it in your voice. It's not even about, obviously you're making good money, but I hear it in your voice that you don't want to stall anybody else's life. You don't want to be the reason, and you want things to go as smooth as possible. So if they want this house, you want to close it for them at that date that they want it at, because you want people to live a good life.
I'm losing if they're losing.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
And like 100%, I'm losing if they're losing. Not just because of the commission or the compensation or anything like that. It's because I really want to see people be successful, and I really want to see people get what they can get. And at the same time, I still have to separate certain things because people buy houses that I don't think should.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you ever was to do you
represent someone?
Yeah, do you let them know like you don't think you should buy a house?
I mean, if they ask me, but it's kind of like the, you know,
How
you
often
guys
do they ask you? Sorry.
Oh, well, a lot of people ask me what they should offer for a house. And that's not really my job. My job isn't to tell you how much you should spend on a house, because it's your money.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will be like, well, you know, this house is listed for $200,000. And they'll say, well, why don't we offer $195,000? And I'll say, well, in this market, I don't feel like that's an aggressive enough offer for you to, you know, to be in contention.
Do people typically listen?
For the most part,
yeah.
I find often that if I'm not their style agent, that they find another agent. And I encourage people to find somebody that works with your like motives and your needs and your style. Because I mean, like, you guys I think you're both married, right? Is what you're saying. So you're both married, like your wives are different, but they're yours. Like
well, we share our wives.
Yeah, we share.
Maybe when I get one, who knows?
Just kidding.
But yeah, no. But the thing is, they each have individual characteristics that make them good for you.
For sure.
And that's really true of agents. I mean, like, that's what it comes down to, is you've got to find the one that's either as aggressive as you want, or can even just explain it the way that makes sense to you.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I have no issue with that.
You're trying to make a
no, I'm just thinking about if you were to drive back to Fort Myers.
Oh my God. I drive back. All right, honey, I'm home. She'd be like, what the fuck?
Trace, Jay. Hey, what's up, guys?
You know what she'd say?
I was listening to you. It was just playing in my head in the back.
Yeah.
Yes,
what did I say? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We're going to do this like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Please, what did I just tell you? No.
So
you're essentially what you said was just you got to find a real estate agent that
you got to find a wife
is in tune with you, really.
Yeah.
In short.
You got to marry your real estate agent.
Well, I mean, it's happened. It's happened before.
I'm sure it has.
Not with me. I've never found anyone dumb enough to even probably date me, let alone marry me.
I've seen a bunch of videos of like a really attractive real estate agent lady is showing a house, and
you've seen a bunch of videos.
Have you had any like actual nightmare customers in your career yet?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's within the industry. I mean, within the industry, and the thing I would say in rebuttal to, or like in conclusion to the other idea that we were talking about with finding the right agent, is and whether somebody should buy a house based off my opinion.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my opinion is my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, you guys all have tattoos, and tattoo artists will only do certain tattoos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, but if they turn you away, guess where they're going to go? Down the street and get somebody else to do the tattoo.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And so I'm going to do my very best to guide you and to help you find something that matches what you're looking for, and also matches what I hope will be a sustainable, like, either payment or lifestyle for you. Because, again, I want people to be successful. I don't want people to have a super big issue because they bought more house than they could afford.
Well, ultimately, you want somebody to buy another house through you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, well, and referrals.
Or sell through you, too.
Selling's awesome, and buying's awesome, and referrals are the part that actually keep me in business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, I did a good job for you. You send your friends, you send your family, and that's what actually keeps me in business.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we're well compensated for what we do. But it's one transaction, and the average person does a transaction every 7 or 7.5 years.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at that, like, that was an outlier on the fact that I helped them buy a house and sell a house in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you're an investor, you're just not flipping it that much because you don't want to deal with the tax implications. You don't want to move that much,
Right.
Things like that. So, the biggest sale. So here's the thing. I think my biggest individual sale. So there's two ways that you can qualify this. You can qualify this off of the sides. So a side is whether I'm listing agent or selling agent.
Okay.
So the biggest single side that I've done, which isn't really that impressive, to be honest, I think it was like $325,000.
It's pretty impressive.
I mean, it'd be cool if that's what I got paid.
Hells yeah.
But that's not what I got paid.
Yeah.
The biggest transaction was also in that as well, because I represented the seller on $190,000 house, the buyer on the $190,000 house, and the buyer on the $320,000 or $325,000. I don't remember the exact price on that property. So that was a really big day.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest day that I've had in real estate, as part of the biggest month or month and a half roughly. I made about $45,000.
Sheesh.
In about 45 days.
Dude, that's
roughly.
killer. Yeah.
Now that was, I mean, again, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
So that's not every month. Now there are agents out there that are making that every month.
Yeah.
And like you guys are, I appreciate that you look at me like an expert, but I still like kind of feel like, a guppy, like a little tadpole in the pond of real estate, because there's people out there like my broker, for instance, Sue Clark, Jeannie Wheeler. There's tons of top 10 agents, Matt Christian, Don Dell, like Jeannie Campbell. There's a bunch of them that have been like workhorses in this industry, selling $15, $20 million in real estate. Tom Barrett's another one. So all of these people that like have been in it, but like all these people are 10, 15, 20 years older than I am.
Yeah.
Some even more. So like I'm going to grow into that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But
and I imagine your biggest sell probably has to do with like what demographic you're in and what area you're in, because like you said, Orlando's selling $500,000 homes.
Yeah, those are
common.
$250,000 house probably.
Right.
I don't know that market again. I don't know that market as well as I know this market, because this is where I live and this is where I do business.
Yeah. What's like the average home here? What does the average home here go?
I think the median price according to Zillow, which realtors hate Zillow, just plugging that in there. It's a thing. I don't know. They're mad because Zillow is like trying to eliminate realtors essentially.
Yeah.
Like they're buying properties to flip properties. They're also buying properties to, or they're also trying to build their own brokerage so that they can like automate it.
Yeah.
Rather than having to pay agents.
For sure.
Yeah.
They're failing miserably right now, but someone will eventually figure out to some degree some way to limit our industry, which is why it's important to be effective. But I think they sent me an email with the median price being somewhere around 225, if I remember correctly.
That's for like a 3-2?
Probably a small 3-2.
Okay.
Mostly a nice 2-2. Like if you're looking in neighborhoods like, like over in like Jackson Heights or something like that, or maybe in like Sun and Lakes, like towards the back. Like if you're getting into some of those meatier houses, like concrete block with a nice 2-car garage, probably looking at 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Oh, nice.
Decent house. 3-2s are hard to come by because again, it's that dream home, it's that demand. And so a lot of those are sitting closer to 250, 275. Some of them are even $300,000. Like they're building out in Spring Lake.
Are they getting appraised for that much?
Typically yes.
Oh wow.
Well, because here's the thing: if there's 5 people willing to pay $280,000 for this
Then
house,
it's obviously
then
worth
it's
it.
it's worth it. It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's like if we're talking about the last decade, inventory is as low as it's ever been.
Okay.
For the most part, and I don't think that that's exclusive to just Florida.
Yeah.
I think that because what happened with that 2008 housing crisis, all those construction companies went out of business that were building houses in mass, and so there were a few that weathered that storm. And now people are opening back up, contracting businesses and things like that, and have been over the last few years. But I think it's still like they were still ramping up before the demand kind of like really hit. So yeah, that's been the thing is, they can't build them as fast as people want them right now.
Yeah.
And part of that's because it's taking so long to just get the supplies.
Yeah.
I I know I just went to a hotel the other day, and they were literally like, well, we started remodeling, but we couldn't get most of the stuff here. So it seems to be moving faster now, and it's been like almost 3 months since they started their remodel.
Yeah.
And, the supplies are coming in. Dang. These contractors are floating like 5, 6, 10 jobs versus like 2 jobs before, because they can't get those things in time. So
do you sell, I don't know if a real estate agent does this or not, but do you sell new construction?
I can absolutely sell new construction. Most contractors are going to typically try to market it themselves, or they have an agent that is either like a wife, family member, or somebody that they've specifically got in the company, and sometimes it's them. That is an agent, and that's a smart thing because the exposure's monumentally better than just posting a Facebook post that says, I have this 3.2 in Spring Lake for $350, on a half acre.
Is that a common thing that people are doing right now? Are they buying new construction, or are they buying?
Yeah, well, so you have custom homes, and you also have new construction homes. So like you've got spec homes, which again, not a contractor. Yeah. So I may use some of these terminologies incorrectly, but basically a spec home is like one of these where it's kind of more of the cookie cutter idea. Right. Like, okay, we're gonna build the house, this way, and then we're gonna build a mirror house. And so that's kind of like, the spec home idea, and there's like maybe 2 or 3 models, and maybe you add a more expensive countertop or more expensive flooring or higher ceilings or things like that. But I guess the idea would be that they're it's kind of like how we go and buy a shirt at Walmart. It's the shirt at Walmart versus going to a tailor. Right. The custom built house is going to be a tailored house. Yeah. And I do know that my friends in the construction business, I've talked to a number of them that are building, and they're building more houses, like 5 times as many houses than they were 3 or 4 years ago. Nice. Now, granted, for one of them, that's like rather than building like 1 or 2 new homes and doing mostly remodels, they're building like 5 or 8. Yeah. But that's still a monumental jump in their business, and shows the need for that. Yeah. And these are usually high-end custom homes that they're building. Yeah. So.
Dang, nice. I was just wondering if the supply is still going down. I wonder if they're. Are they building more homes? Yeah.
Yeah, they are definitely. Most of them are trying to build them as fast as they can. Yeah. And on top of that, like, yes, again, I can sell these homes, and I can connect you with builders, and I can help you through that process. It's something that, it's about cultivating the right relationships with the right people. And it's just like everything. Some agents are better than others, and some builders are better than others.
Hell yeah.
So that's one of those things but typically with quality comes cost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, like, things have gone rampant, and like, even with like hedge funds buying up property and things like that, and with interest rates going up, how do you see the housing market kind of like reacting to all this kind of shift in the way the economy is turning? It looks like.
So the biggest thing, I think it is going to remain steady for the most part. Because demand's not going to go away. Yeah. Right. I think that the sellers are going to hold a little less leverage at some point. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to start to result in maybe those, like we talked about earlier, like concessions possibly coming back into play a little bit. Yeah. The buying power of people is going to be affected big time. Like I had a customer of mine, we just redid her pre-qualification. And, obviously not naming any names or any companies or anything like that, but because the interest rate had climbed from 4% to 4.75%, she lost about $15,000 in buying power.
Dang.
So that interest is going to put pressure on the people that are buying those what would be considered entry level houses now. It's going to put a lot of pressure on those markets because people aren't going to be able to buy as much with that interest rate climbing. Yeah. So if the rough math is, for 0.75% to 1% affecting a $15,000 buying power, if these rates have gone up from, I had friends that had 2.25% interest rates last year, beginning of last year and towards the end of 2020. So like if you're looking at that, we're talking about at 5%, we're talking about a $45,000 swing in their buying power. We're talking about once it gets to 6%, which is still below inflation, we're talking about a $60,000, maybe a roughly $60,000 difference in buying power.
Wow.
Now I don't know if that equates, 1-to-1. Like I haven't sat down and done the math, but if my math is correct on the air, my just guesstimates, then even if it's just 45 grand at 4% hike, that's a lot of house.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a nice move-in ready house, with the tile, the screen porch, the garage, like versus like I'm buying a house that's maybe not in the neighborhood I want.
Yeah.
That's so.
That was that. Well, that right there alone was more than your first house that you purchased, right?
Yeah.
That's like
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
it's
like
like
You couldn't buy that right now for 45 grand. You could basically buy a house that needs to be like is down to the studs.
Yeah.
It needs a roof and everything for like 45 grand in probably again the neighborhood that you're not going to be super excited to be in.
Right.
But yeah, like if we were talking about this townhouse over here, I would figure at least $100,000 for that townhouse, if not in the neighborhood of 120. I mean, the little villas in Sun and Lakes that are like 2-1s, 2-2s are being listed anywhere between $125,000 and $175,000, and you're talking about something with an HOA fee of like around $300 a month.
Whoa.
Which is another thing to think about, because per $20,000 you finance is about $100 a month in payments. So that's almost $60,000 in buying power in your HOA fees. Those are things to consider that a lot of people don't. And then on top of that, you have your district assessment up there at $700, and they club me for that every year.
What's a district assessment? That's for you?
So no, it's something I have to pay, and it's something that everyone in Sun Lakes has to pay. So it's essentially like a secondary tax, because it's most people would equate it to an HOA. It's not an HOA, but it functions very similarly. But it's essentially a tax of $700 a year, and it may have even gone up, I think, to like $728 or something like that. But basically, they charge you for the privilege of living in Sun and Lakes.
Yeah.
But it's because it's supposed to go to, I guess back when they develop it, I guess the way that works is based off the government subsidies or something like that has to go into the infrastructure and things like that.
Gotcha.
But Sun and Lakes essentially does function as almost its own city. It just basically doesn't have a police force.
Yeah, they got a fire and security and schools,
hospital, school. Water department. All the makings of we even have that restaurant in there and the pools and things.
Have you ever ate at that restaurant?
I literally went in there one time. I think it was like Mother's Day, like 2 years ago, and I tried to get in there, and they were like, "Do you have a reservation?" And I'm like, "Does it look like I have a reservation?"
Yeah.
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
I'll sell this fucking place.
I'll buy it and sell it right now.
I should have a standing reservation anywhere I go.
You should have just hit the bitch in the face with your business card.
So I literally that was like the fourth place that me and my friends tried to go.
Yeah.
And we were just like, all right, just screw it. We'll catch up later.
Yeah.
Like, because Mother's Day. And
Yeah.
we weren't thinking about it. Like, we all thought about our mothers, but like, we didn't think about going to lunch with them.
Shit. Right after this podcast, I got to go get a Mother's Day present from
Yeah, I'm gonna go get flowers.
But on the restaurant thing, right? Yeah. So on the restaurant thing, be nice to these dadgum servers, because like, just because that kitchen is like backed up or whatever, like I went to Chili's the other day, and they basically told me to leave.
Yeah.
Not because I was being rude, but like I came in and I was gonna eat with a buddy, and they were just stacked and overwhelmed. And like their hostess came over and she was super nice. She was like, "Hey, we'll seat you here, but it's gonna take probably about 30 minutes." And I'm like, "All right, no problem, I'll wait. Not a big deal." So I went over, sat down at the bar, because I saw some people I know. Highlands County again.
Yeah.
What are the chances you're gonna run into somebody? Pretty high.
Yeah.
So I sit over there with my friends. She comes over to me again. She goes, "Well, our kitchen's having problems too."
Oh my god.
So there's gonna, it may be longer. And I said, "It's okay. I'll just get. Like, I'm just not gonna be the headache for you guys, because like they're the poor people. Like, literally, I went there yesterday for lunch. Phenomenal experience. Kat, who's been serving there for like 20 years.
Shouts out to you, Kat.
She's got
Meow.
she's super good energy.
Meow.
Super good energy. and like on it.
Yeah.
Like my chips were like I basically said I want chips and salsa and they were there.
Yeah. She just like she crunched them.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she telepathically communicates.
Hell yeah.
And so anyway, it was like, yeah, perfect experience. But like I was sitting there one day, and the people behind me were just complaining about everything. And I'm like, have you not realized that if you're going out to dine post COVID, it's gonna be an hour. Yeah. Like it's gonna be an hour. It's gonna be an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. And you know what? Just appreciate it. Appreciate the fact that you have the time and the privilege to be able to go out enjoy a meal where you don't have to do the dishes. Where somebody else is coming over to you, bringing you a fresh soda every time you want one, or a fresh, margarita or whatever, and just appreciate the fact that you're not having to do that work, because that work is hard.
Yeah.
That is hard work. Yeah. Remembering all that stuff. These people remember your drink.
Yeah.
Like they practically would remember your, like there's places I go, they remember my name. I'm like,
what do you think's harder, being a real estate agent or being a server?
Being a server.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. The head knowledge is probably harder as it goes for being a real estate agent. But
you took an oath, so
I did take an oath.
They don't take no server oath. I'm just
I see what you're saying, because once you have the head knowledge, you kind of all you have to do is keep up to date.
Well, think about the physical labor, the amount of steps that they take on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like probably 15 to 20,000 steps just at work.
Yeah.
They're dealing with some of the most entitled people known to man.
Yeah.
Because again, you work for me. Well, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, again, this comes back to my thing. People are people.
Yeah.
Treat people like people, because you have to respect the fact that they've taken the time to get up and go to work, because they're doing a job that you probably don't want to do.
Yeah.
And there are people that love serving. And I actually really like, as you guys can tell, I like to talk. Mm-hmm. So I like to interact with people. So I think I'd be like a good bartender. The problem is I probably would, that's the head knowledge that would screw me up. Remembering what goes into all those drinks. How they do that, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, good for them. Because I'd be like, okay, we have straight tequila, we have straight bourbon, and then I have this margarita mix over here. Do you want, that's our options. But those guys are like, oh, you want a fuzzy navel, blended, and nice and frothy? Do
you think anybody could be a real estate agent?
No.
I
don't say that because I think that I'm elite or anything.
Yeah,
like that. I think one of the things that's the biggest, for me, one of the things that's big is to be able to put people at ease. It's the largest financial decision most people will make.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the largest, it's the largest decision most people are going to make.
Other than if you accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior.
And I'm not saying that as a joke either, but
I'm not either.
I'm not sure.
I was in I'm not. I've heard that my whole goddamn life.
That's gonna be. This is high quality content, people. But yeah, so I would say it's gonna be the largest financial decision you make. It's gonna be one of the most impactful decisions you make, because let's say you're married. It's where your kids are going to grow up.
Yeah.
Or spend a season of their life. Like I said, don't get married to a house, but I still think about if I get enough money. Like my grandma's house on Schlosser got listed the other day for $397,000. And I was like, you know what? If I had the money sitting around right now, I'd buy that.
I know.
Yeah.
My grandma's been gone for 10 years, but you have those memories.
For sure.
And you're setting the environment for your family and things like that.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of don't get married to the house, just you're gonna love things about it, and you're gonna make memories, and it's gonna be important. So these are huge financial decisions and huge opportunities, to be involved in. And so that would be my kind of 2 cents on it.
Hell yeah.
Do you think it's kind of smart to buy right now?
What are your circumstances? Because the circumstances are always
that was a fucking rock solid answer.
Yeah.
That was great.
It's
true. No, it's the truth. I didn't even you sold me right there. I was like, fuck. Yeah.
I've told many people not to buy, and I've told many people that they should be buying, because are you moving for opportunity? Are you fluid? are you online dating, or did you meet somebody in, like, you went on a cruise and you met somebody who's from, like, I'm not going to say Alabama because nobody likes Alabama.
Yeah.
Unless you're liked and subscribed on here, then we love you.
No, if you you live in a shit place. Alabama sucks.
Well, Alabama, and anyway, I'm going to take a trip to Alabama because they just started the USFL up again. That used to be the XFL, and I'm a big football fan. They're playing all the games in Birmingham right now because they haven't secured. These are the random tidbits of knowledge.
A better place to play.
Well, they haven't secured it. Like, there's a Tampa Bay team. Like, they haven't secured a place to play in Tampa.
Gotcha.
And so they're definitely not going to do it at Ray J because, like, 7 people are showing up in Alabama, and as we've covered, there's not much to do in Alabama.
Right.
So, but yeah, your circumstances dictate so much on whether that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I would say if it's a long-term thing, I would expect to at some point in the future have negative equity or be even. You know, at the end of the day, I would expect that for most purchases, like, to be cyclical. Like, if you buy a stock, you're not going to think, I mean, unless you're day trading, you're not going to think by 3 p.m. it's going to be worth more. Yeah. You're not going to buy a house and think by 3 months from now it's going to be worth more.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate enough to be having that happen in the last couple of years, but that's the growth pattern isn't sustainable necessarily, in my opinion. But again, I'm not an economist.
Right.
But if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to buy within my means, even if this is a short-term thing. Now, short-term being like a year. Mm-hmm. Because a year is how long it takes to be able to qualify for another FHA loan, I believe. And that's, like, again, what I said is most people are buying with because it requires only 3.5% down for the most part and typically has some of the most competitive interest rates.
Yeah.
So with that FHA loan, if you're going to buy one and then sell it and then go to try to buy something else in another area within the year, you may still get money out of your property. You may still win, but you've got to think in a listing, you've got to pay a commission. You got to pay a commission. You've got to pay taxes. You got to pay taxes on the sale of the property. You got to pay taxes on the earnings from the sale of the property, and things like that. So you've already paid. Remember, we covered about 3 to 3.5% just in your cost to buy that loan.
Yeah. So
you're going to really have to hit big to be able to move out of something quickly. But yeah, I would definitely say your circumstances really dictate whether it's a good time to buy. If it's a long-term investment, you're not really going to lose. But if you're also looking at investment, we didn't even get it, guys. We have been doing this for a while, and we haven't even got into, like, the real nitty-gritty of this.
Let's do it right now.
So, like, the real nitty-gritty of this is, like, if you're going to invest in real estate, like, multi-units where it's at.
Oh, house hacking?
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, even just getting a duplex. Now, right now, they're more expensive because they're the most attainable. They're the most attainable price point where you have a full built-in rental. Yeah. Like, I think I just saw one go up in Sun and Lakes for like $339,000, and I think it was a 2-2 on each side.
Hell
so
yeah.
That's quite a bit of money for it. Now, recently, there was a fourplex. But again, the Sun and Lakes thing, this is another thing to keep in mind. You've got to look at these costs. So the costs on having a duplex in Sun and Lakes is automatically $1,400 a year. Yeah. Because you've got 2 district assessments. So just keep that in mind. That's
wow. Wow,
so
I didn't think about that.
You're losing a month of rent right off the bat. Now, so that's why buying it right would be incredibly important. So that's part of the thing that's holding me back is if I'm, some of the multi-unit stuff that I've been looking at, like there was a fourplex that came up for $400,000. Now, one of the units needs remodeled, but the rent on just the 3 units that were livable at market price would probably be $3,600 a month, which would more than cover your mortgage. Yeah.
And 4 is the max you can get, right, with like traditional mortgage loans, I believe.
I think there's some different caps on that stuff. Okay. But around 400 is something. I think it's like 475 or something like that for.
No, I mean like a fourplex or quadplex.
Oh,
I think is the limit before you have to get a commercial, I believe, right? Is that correct?
I don't necessarily know. Yeah. I don't necessarily know on that. I don't think that it would necessarily affect that. Yeah. You don't have to be a business to own rental properties. Yeah. It's advantageous to separate your personal finances from your business finances.
Yeah.
Because
no, I mean like in the sense of like a quadplex versus if it was 5 units attached to one building. I think at that point you're crossing the line into commercial real estate.
Like, could you buy a quadplex with a FHA?
You could in theory.
Yeah.
If you have the correct amount of income, or if it already is producing. Like I said, you can count 75% of the producing income. So if they have like signed lease agreements that are showing that it's going to cover, your mortgage, then you'll probably jam up jelly tight. It's hard to find somebody that's going to be willing to get rid of something like that, though.
Yeah.
Because like, why would they give it up?
For sure.
If it's already a profitable business and they bought it, let's say 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Jeez.
So does somebody build that thinking like for themselves to rent it out? Or is that like commercial, just developers building it, knowing that they're going to make people are going to buy it because it's a quadplex?
On that, there's most of the stuff that's being built that's multifamily right now by builders is actually being segmented up to be sold individually. So like one half of a duplex or one half of a triplex or quadplex.
So they're busting it all the way down, making that
so
profit.
kind of like Pine Key Estates or whatever. You know how they've got like a row of homes, basically, kind of like townhouses almost, but they're not 2 stories. That's essentially, how they're building right now for the multi-units. Because typically, you carry a higher premium, it seems, on selling that as an individual home. Yeah. Like each of those units versus selling it as a whole thing.
Yeah. It's almost getting it at a discount if you sell it. Buy it as a whole.
Yeah, you will typically come out winning on that. And the builder has no reason to do that unless you've commissioned them to build it. Yeah. But even still, if you're going to venture into that commercial real estate stuff, what you're going to want to do is ideally find something that needs work and have the capital fix it. Because then you go in and you buy a busted up, let's say 4-bedroom, 4-bath duplex, and then you buy it for, let's say, $200,000 instead of that $330,000. You put $40,000 into, throwing some new kitchen cabinets in there, redoing the bathrooms.
Get that sweat equity.
Yeah. Especially if you're like skilled in handy and stuff. I am not a handyman. So if you get in there and you dig that stuff out, that'll be the thing.
He's not either, but he fucking did it still.
Yeah.
Well, and you can find people to do work cheap.
Yeah.
You can absolutely still find people to do work for less than what they should be getting paid.
Yeah. Those are the best.
And that is why the capitalist system is amazing sometimes, is because people are worth what they're willing to work for.
Shit, I know a handyman down here at the corner of the gas station. You give him a 12-pack, he'll work all night.
Kenny, you been hanging out down there?
No, I haven't.
We call him Handy Kenny.
And so I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that is a smart play. And seriously, if you're going to be doing business of any sort, if you lack in an area, yes, Google is available for you. And getting an idea so that you can speak intelligently about something is a great way to go about things. But they're experts for a reason.
For sure. Hell yeah.
I literally consult my legal, like not my legal team, but the people that I work with that are lawyers regularly. Why? Because again, I'm not a lawyer, and these people spent 10 years or whatever in school, passed one of the most difficult exams in existence, and are licensed to know the legalities and the ins and outs of things. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. And the other thing to think about is there's no reason to not use an agent if you're a buyer. This is the thing. If you're going to go into a house and you're going to buy a house, use a real estate agent every time.
Yeah.
Even if you have to pay them out of pocket, they're worth it. Yeah. Because if you're buying from, let's say, a for sale by owner, most of those guys don't know what they're doing. And that's not to say that they don't. Because if a lawyer is selling a house, he probably knows my business better than I do. Yeah. Because he knows every law pertaining to it and this and that. There are definitely educated for sale by owners. There are definitely educated people buying as individuals. But I would say this. Most of the time, the biggest conflicts come when there is a lack of professionalism and a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Like when you disagree with somebody and you have an argument, it's usually because someone cannot articulate themselves correctly based off of what circumstance they're in, not that the ideas are really that far off.
Yeah, and it would be advantageous to just have a real estate agent to be an advocate for you and be somebody that almost can just kind of take the heat for you in general.
Well, 100%. You're a buffer for both sides.
Right.
And on top of it, you know when things, like what is timely.
Yeah.
Like, just to cover like a brief idea of, because I know we wanted to talk about the buying process. So if you were going to, I mean, you bought a house, so you've kind of gone through this. But, you know, as somebody who's been in the business, I've probably done this in the neighborhood of 40 or 50 times at this point. Maybe more. I'm not looking at my stats or anything. But, at the end of the day, if you were to come to me and you were going to buy a house, the first thing I'm going to tell you is I'm going to say, go ahead and call, whether that's so-and-so or so-and-so. Like, I always usually hook them up with 2 to 3 different lenders because as a real estate agent, we are not allowed to receive any kickbacks or to steer you in any direction. Which is why I said, the suggesting stuff earlier is one of those things where it's like, do I think you should or do I think you shouldn't? What I think you should offer and what I think you shouldn't. They may be different things, but it's not my job to change your financial future. Mm-hmm. I can give you advice as a friend, but it has to be, kind of separated from my professional expertise.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. But basically, get you with a mortgage broker, and I recommend a mortgage broker over a bank. Like, I know a lot of people want to go to Mid-Florida. A lot of people want to go to, like, Wells Fargo, Chase, things like that. I'll tell you this. This is not always the case. There are great people that work at all those companies. Typically, when you work with a big bank or credit union versus a mortgage broker, we have more hang-ups and we have more issues than if we work with a mortgage broker. Mm. So, in my experience, again, just my experience, I highly recommend a mortgage broker. They get you competitive rates. They're not working with just their set of credit parameters and things of that nature, and they give you more dedicated attention. Like my buddy Shane, for instance, or my buddy AJ, you call them, and they will direct you to who you need. Or once you get to a certain stage in it, they're going to put you with their processor, but you still have Shane's number.
Yeah.
I've been in mortgage situations with these big banks, and these jokers are like, well, they got promoted, or they quit, or they got fired in the middle of your deal.
Oh, God.
And talk about throwing a wrench in a situation that's already stressful enough.
Yeah.
You're spending your life savings to buy a property, and like a lot of people are pushing right up against what they have, and circumstances change. They drop the ball on something. This is the big thing. So get your pre-qualification done. Get out, start looking. Okay? Because if you're not pre-qualified, you can't make a competitive offer. Mm. I can't tell you I'm going to pay you $10,000 in crypto for coming on my podcast and winning 1,000 subscribers. Oh, wait.
1,000.
It's $1,000.
$1,000.
But someone told me prior to this podcast going live that I was going to get 10 if I won.
Yeah, and you will.
I'm not gonna win, guys. We're gonna leave that out there for you guys because
hell no, man. It ain't no rigged system. We're gonna put it in. If it hits on him, he's getting it.
I got a chance.
He's got a huge chance.
I get it 10x because that was the stipulation to
That's
come
it.
on the podcast.
That's it. I fucking guarantee it. I'm gonna pay you out of Kenny's.
Whoa.
Kenny's like,
whoa.
I'm gonna throw my 500.
You think you could get your wife on board with that?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Hey, just wait till that Bitcoin's worth about 10K, then you guys can pay me, okay?
No, don't say that.
Don't say that.
I don't want it to be that either because I gotta pay my taxes.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so you gotta have the mortgage broker that's working with you, and then so once you get into these houses and you're looking, okay, to make a competitive offer, you have to be ready. Like you have that $1,000 that you're going to give away in crypto. Like you have that.
Yeah.
And we know that because you're going to give it away, and you wouldn't guarantee something that you couldn't. But
or
you're well, they
just
hope.
Kidding.
Come on.
So basically, that pre-qualification letter is your guarantee. That's your word.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, saying that we will back up.
Yeah. We're
what
good
you're
for
saying.
it. Yeah, we're good for
We're
it.
good for it. And so if you have that, and you have your proof of funds in to get that pre-qualification letter, then you're good. You're going to be able to go out and you're going to be able to make competitive offers. So then you get out, you start looking, you figure out, you kind of figure out the market. Like, I highly recommend, like, I tell a lot of people this, like, there's tons of agents that are sending out every listing that comes out every day to every customer. But let me tell you this. The customers have almost all the same tools that you do as an agent. Like, they can go on Realtor.com and they can see 90% of what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
There are realtor notes in the MLS. There are commission splits that are mentioned. There are, showing instructions, whether it's vacant, things like that. That stuff's not public information.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see, okay, this is a 3.2. This is in my price range. This is in a neighborhood I want to be in. All of those things are things that you can see.
So you could do a lot of legwork yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of times, I mean, I would say maybe it's 60-40. I find the house versus them finding the house. Because especially if I'm in a really busy season and I'm out showing 5 houses that day, I'm not going to be sitting there sending you an email. But you know what? You'll get a pop-up from Realtor.com. Ding, new listing, 3.2, 245 in Spring Lake or, Lake Placid or whatever you're looking for. Or on the canal, or whatever thing you're looking for, and so then you shoot me a text, and we get out there and we go look at it. Then from that point, let's say this is the house. That's a perfect house, right? And it's listed for $245, and you're like, you know what? I really want this house. We're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna offer them $250. Sometimes I'll structure that like if you're going above the asking price, because agents will get reluctant to take those sometimes. Because agents are just like most people. We're prideful people. No, well, we listed that at $245. That's what that house is worth.
Yeah.
Because it needs to appraise.
Yeah.
So what you'll do, and because honestly, agents aren't always right, they'll come in and you'll be like, okay, well, we'll cover that $5,000 appraisal gap. If you're being aggressive and let's say you have the money sitting there. We'll cover that $5,000 appraisal gap if it comes in at $245 and not $250. So then you just got another layer of aggressiveness. So now they're like, you know what? This is the best offer we have on the table. We're absolutely going to take that. Now, in that offer, like I said, you have an acceptance period, but there's also an inspection period.
Yeah.
So the inspection period is one of the most important things to take heed of. It's one of the most crucial times to be punctual because you only have however many days. Like I typically put in 10 days because you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
With as aggressive and as busy as the market's been, it's been difficult to get people out there in a timely manner to inspect the home.
Yeah.
And so if you get in touch with if you get a contract accepted on a Friday or a Saturday, a lot of these companies have the luxury of being off on the weekends or not having an office person on the weekends. So you won't be able to schedule an inspection until like that Monday. So you need that extra little leeway so that you at least have a Monday to a Monday for them to get out there and you to get your report. Because usually most of them will give you a report the same day. But that's also your window to kick out. Like if something's wrong, like that's the time that you have to escape. Like the roof, you thought the roof was good, it was done 5 years ago, but it was done by a company who doesn't do good work.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's only got, let's say 3 years of life left and they're not wanting to do anything to compensate you for that. Now, because it's an aggressive market, you may compromise and go, well, I don't want to go through this process again. But if the problems overmount the benefits,
risk versus reward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, all right, I'm checking out. I got to book it. I've got to cut my losses. And at that point, what you've usually done is within the first 3 days, you have to put in escrow typically around 1% of the purchase price. So like if it's $250,000, usually you're gonna put $2,500 in minimum into escrow, which is refundable unless you get outside that 10-day inspection period, and then you try to back out for a reason other than contingencies that are listed, which there are a ton of those. Like there's financing contingencies, things like that, that can bail you out. Appraisal contingencies, like if we didn't have that guarantee in there that we would buy it if it appraised for $245, then
when I bought my property in Hawaii, when we went through the inspection process, there was nothing was GFCI.
Yeah.
And so obviously got hit on that, and then there was plumbing issues.
Yeah.
And I was buying in a buyer's market.
Oh, for sure.
So I was able to say, hey, here are the... I kind of did a little digging on the family, and I learned of their situation. Took advantage.
Holy shit!
I know,
he's an
it's
amazing
Kenny's
detective.
like, I know where your kids go to preschool.
No,
and
no.
if you want to pick them up today.
Man, this is going to make me sound terrible, but
I heard you just filed
let's do it.
bankruptcy. Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Sure, let's hear
So
it.
I learned that the reason why they were selling was because they had to move back to the Carolinas, either North or South Carolina, because the husband got cancer.
Oh my god.
I'm terrible.
Jesus.
I'm terrible, I know.
I refuse to laugh.
Yeah.
And the house had been on the market for like 2 months, and I was like, they need to get this off their hands.
Yeah.
Do you feel
And
good about yourself?
I do feel good about myself.
He got a hell of a deal.
Hell
Yeah.
of a deal.
And
How's the guy?
the house was rough. Don't get me wrong. The house was
Sure.
in rough shape. That's why I was sitting on the market.
Yeah.
And so I was able to talk him from 365 down to 342.
Yeah. Especially in a buyer's market. Man.
Yeah.
You're able to go, yeah, I'm not going to take that, and I'm going to need you to fix these things. It's
Yeah.
really, really incredible.
So yeah, I was pretty much like, hey, throw in these funds towards the closing costs.
Yeah, and that car that you have out there. Now, you mind leaving that too? You know, the riding lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I was able to negotiate with the seller and stuff like that.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge thing. The condition of the market and the
versus
supply. Yeah. I mean, it allows you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Versus when I sold,
Yeah.
I was like, as is. I don't give a fuck.
I won't even tell you the paint color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
I was like, as is. If you want it, but
Yeah.
and I sold in March.
Yep.
You know, I'm selling at the top.
Yeah.
Essentially, what we all feel was the top.
Sure. Yeah. In that, you know.
Yeah.
Laws. I still ascribe to the fact that I think we're still under the same pressures here.
Oh yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
So I think that we're approaching that shift maybe back towards some like I said, the leverage will be coming back the other direction.
Yeah,
a little bit.
exactly.
But no, that's awesome. I mean, I wish, you know, the opportunity for wealth to be created in our generation. There's a couple of things that I look at. And I think real estate for people that are in their mid to late 20s and 30s, early 30s, we really had an opportunity to make hay on those things.
Yeah,
and we still have, I mean, there's still opportunity in it. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't end. But, I mean, these were easy opportunities that if you had the foresight and the thought to get in and dive in and take the risk, you could really move forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that inspection period, once you finish that, then you kind of go towards coasting towards, you know, that's when you're going to order your appraisal. You're going to get your appraisal back, and then you're also going to order your survey typically. So a survey is basically then marking out like your land, like your quarter-acre lot, for instance, because most of our houses around here are quarter-acre lots. So they're going to come out and they're going to mark your property stakes and make sure that there aren't any encroachments, like your house isn't built on your neighbor's property or part of your neighbor's property or this, that, or whatever. They're going to mark out that kind of stuff. They're going to typically mark out easements. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that easements are like what the roads are built on. Like a lot of people have no idea that like when they came and staked my yard, well, my neighbor's yard, because I was selling his house for him, which was awesome. I really appreciate that guy. When you get somebody to believe in you, even though they've
Dude,
yeah, it's
best.
it's a really cool feeling because like I only really talked to my neighbor who's named Ernest. He lives up in Maryland. He was like a snowbird for like 25 years. Did really well on selling his house. But yeah, he just was like, well, you know, I've had a lot of other people approach me about selling this house, but you know, you're my neighbor and you're young and you're getting after it, and I appreciate you for going for it. And I was like, you know what, man, these are the kind of people that give you the opportunity to be successful. If people don't give you the opportunity, you know.
And when you get the job done for them, and it's a fucking home run, it feels so good.
Nailed it. He bought that house for like $55,000.
Oh my god!
Like 20 years ago, and I think we sold it for $170,000.
Good
Nice.
for him.
So again,
Good job, Ernest.
Yeah, nailed it. And like on top of it, like there was issues with the house, like known issues that we disclosed, that would have brought the value down, but it's a seller's market.
Yeah.
So the buyer basically had to go, okay, well, if you guys get it treated, then we'll buy it. So we did treat it. It was only like a $900 deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, went ahead. And so anyway, yeah, we worked through all that stuff. But when they were staking the yard, I was like, my buddy did the surveying. I think it was SGIS surveying, and he came out and he staked it. I was like, man, I don't have very much yard. And he was like, well, they have a 30-foot easement from road center, which is more than most places. So like the center of that road in Sun Lakes to like is 30 feet. So like
it's a lot. Yeah.
I'm like, Sun Lakes, they charge me $700 to live here, and I have to maintenance like 15 feet of their grass.
Yeah.
Like I want that now.
Yeah.
I need to get paid for that. But
Yeah.
but anyway, those easements are another thing. And the big thing is keeping stuff in a timely manner, because one of the things about contracts is if you're in a 30-day contract, like let's say, it gets accepted tomorrow, you have 30 days from that date for it to close. They don't have to give you an extension.
Whoa.
So, like, if you don't have an agent that knows when things are supposed to be happening, this is not a plug for just experienced agents, because a new agent can know this stuff, but I'm not going to lie. I'm a way better agent now than I was a year and a half ago,
right.
or 2 years ago, really. When I started to produce and started to have multiple closings a month, that's when you start to realize, okay, this is not on track to close. Like, hey, we need to get on this.
Yeah.
And like at the same time, being a guy that people like, and not trashing people on here about who's the unethical agent in Highlands County.
Yeah.
But anyway, but being able to keep that stuff on a timely manner, you can call and you can be like, hey, Jason, I just wanted to let you know, man, we're probably going to need a 5-day extension, but being ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Being ahead of the game, because a lot of them understand it. But like, here's the thing: when that market's moving $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month, these sellers have just been letting that house sit there. And if they're not living in it, like, and they're paying a mortgage, all right, that's just like, if they've got to extend that, that's going to cost them another $1,200 mortgage payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't want to do that. But here's the thing: maybe they've grown another $15,000 in equity because it's taking you 45 days.
Jeez.
Because there aren't any other houses.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then they maybe go, I don't feel like extending you. I'm going to take another offer.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this thing back out on the market. And right now is a time where I would call that bluff on some people.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing. So getting that appraisal done, which the appraisal is basically an independent determination from somebody who's not an interested party, to verify that the house is worth what it's selling for.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so that's one of the systems that's been adjusted big time from the 2008 crisis, which is one of the things that we talked about before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize that.
Because you used to be able to be like, let me call Jimmy. Jimmy, come on out and appraise this thing. I need it to be about $255, okay?
Jeez.
We're going to need this one to be $255 if you don't mind. Hey, I'll slip you a little something on the backside if you don't, If
So that was
if you can make that work there, bud.
that was running like rampant
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, they were doing signature loans, where it's basically like, you know how you said you kind of have to prove that you could buy it? Yeah, that was how it was. They were like, you have a job? Yeah, we'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said you made $100,000 last year? Yeah, no problem. You can get this $500,000 house.
So they've gotten way better at verifying those types
Knowing
of
your
things.
customer.
Yeah.
They have to. And the other thing is there's things like mortgage insurance. So if you do default on the loan, there's an insurance paying that through a lot of these.
Wow, and that wasn't around in 2008 either?
I don't know. I'm sure it was probably around. It probably wasn't mandated as much.
Okay.
The other thing was a lot of people doing ARM loans, where it's like every year or two or something it is that the interest rate goes up. The other thing on top of it was people paying just interest-only loans. So they'd get so people would sell you on the idea, like you go into a car lot and somebody's like, well, why don't you just get the, I used to sell Kias, right? And so you'd come into the car lot and you could get a base model Optima, which is now the K5 or whatever, or you could get the SXL.
Oh, hell yeah.
The SXL, which is the turbocharged, panoramic sunroof, heated and cooled seats, leather,
I'm there.
Well, Sam, you're doing good, man. You got this podcast rolling. Amen. You know, you're making these trades. You're doing well for yourself. Amen. I mean, don't you expect your income to continue to grow?
I expect it to triple, Clinton.
So, yeah, so you might as well just go ahead and buy this car, you know, because here's the thing. It's only an extra couple $100 a month, and it's no big deal.
Not at all.
And so what they were doing is they were selling that same kind of idea on an interest-only loan. Mm-hmm. And so with you only paying the interest, what ends up happening is that market took a little dip. And when that market took a little dip and they try to refinance out of that interest-only loan,
they can't afford it.
Guess what? You got to figure out some way to cover that appraisal gap. Yeah. Got to figure out some way to cover the difference in the actual value.
So overall, even though, you know, the market might be topping or whatever, you're in a much better space than people even talking about, like, oh, we could have another housing market crash or all that.
Foreclosures aren't happening at anywhere close to the rate.
But it's because people are being more careful. There's more parameters set that.
It's the one thing that the government has maybe done right, and we'll have to see how it weathers.
Right.
They've put some significant regulations in place in hopes of preventing another
that's great
mortgage crisis.
That makes me feel hopeful. This is rare.
No, I don't because literally now part of this is because of the forbearance and stuff that they did for COVID. They eliminated foreclosures for like pretty much close to a year. Now there were still some happening. I don't know if they were the ones that had started prior to COVID or if people could still voluntarily go. You know, hey, like, I'm not a foreclosure expert on that stuff. I'm not, but I'm not going to pretend to be. But basically, even since that's been lifted, we're still at incredibly low foreclosure numbers because of the tolerances that have been put in place.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So it's
really good.
It should sustain values to a certain degree. Yeah. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a correction in the market. Because when supply meets demand, and when interest rates are high, guess what we shift into? We're going to shift into a buyer's market. Yeah. And that's going to be a great time. But most people will tell you, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, you're pretty much spending the same money because the interest rate and your buying power will buy you the same thing most of the time anyway. Yeah. So that's where it comes back to is if it's a long-term investment, it's a good time to buy. Yeah. If it's a short-term investment, it needs to be the right thing. Yeah. Or it just doesn't need to happen. Sometimes the risk reward just isn't worth it. Yeah. And so that's just my kind of 2 cents on the whole thing. Dude. But yeah, you get through that appraisal, you get through that survey, and then you get to the closing table. You know, that's the thing, and it can typically be done in about 30 days in our area. Yeah. 45 is you know, if you need a little bit of an extension, you know, 45 is, you know, where you kind of sit at. But I would say that's when you sit down, you write the checks, you sign the papers. You get crippling debt. No, I'm just kidding.
That's when your agent hands you the keys and takes the picture for the Facebook.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, if they're social media people, which is awesome. I don't do a ton of that honestly. Most of the time at this point, I just post a picture of the house. I'll do like once every couple months. I'll post like 4 or 5 pictures, 6 pictures, whatever it is, of some of the houses that I've sold, and just just kind of write a little thank you because, you know, honestly, like, again, if somebody doesn't believe in you, man, then you've got nothing.
For sure.
You've got nothing.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why we're here, man. We want people to believe in us. We're going to sell your house. If you have a house you want us to sell, I'll do it. After hearing Clinton talk,
I'm going to recommend him to real estate school so that he can do that legally.
He was just earlier looking at the oath, trying to memorize it.
Yeah. The oath is... I don't know.
It has something to do with Humpty Dumpty, if I remember it right.
Yeah. Humpty Dumpty sold a great wall. It's build that wall. That's what the oath is.
Oh man. Yeah. Who knows?
With that said, I think thank you again, Clint, for coming out. Dude. We really appreciate it. We love talking with you and learned a lot. Your wealth of knowledge kind of. Dude, for me,
overwhelming. Holy shit.
Overwhelming.
Dude, there's a lot to it. There really is. But I do enjoy it, and I really appreciate that you guys tolerated me for, I think it's been like 7 hours now.
Yeah, if you have a Facebook page you'd like to plug or anything like that.
I have a real estate page that's Clinton Davis Realtor, and then my Gmail is clintondavisrealtor@gmail.com. or actually it's clintondavisrealtor@gmail.com. And, I've got an Instagram, Clint Davis Realtor. My phone number is 863-214-6554. Call me if you have questions. Shoot me a text. Because of spam calls, if I don't answer, leave me a voicemail. Because literally it's like spam calls every day, all day. But I typically try to answer them as well. So, but yeah, definitely give me a call, shoot me a text, email, Facebook Connect. You can add me as a friend. It doesn't matter. I'm available, and that's what makes the difference for my business is being available.
Okay.
Yeah. We really do appreciate you coming on and sharing everything with us. If you need a house, quit being homeless. Buy a fucking house.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Thank you.
Don't be homeless.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.